So, in honor of Black History Month, I have to say that Black History Month is every month for me, every month, every year, because that's just my reality. But in honor of Black History Month, I'm really liking this idea of Bad Bunny, and I'm actually really excited because when I heard some of his music today, like I've heard his music before, but when I heard some of his music, like the Nueve Yo, I might be saying it wrong, so don't give me, but the beat, right? I was like, oh, I love this. I love this. And it made me really excited for tonight, and it made me really excited for everyone else. First of all, we do know that Puerto Rico is a part of the U.S. territory, right? But Puerto Rico's Puerto Rico, and shout out to the Puerto Ricans out there. But I just wanted to take all of what I've been thinking about, and I think it's a perfect moment to shed light on these facts and this reality and why I do feel and why a lot of us feel a lot of things in our body, right? That we may not really understand in our mind because a lot of time history and also education starts where we wanted to and ends where we wanted to, but that doesn't change the reality of what actually was the like where you choose to start and end, or what you've been exposed to and what you haven't been exposed to. So a couple of months ago I went to the Schomburg in Harlem, and I really love that library slash museum slash a lot of different things because it's so important. And the work of Arturo Schomburg is so important. And I'm only 26 years old. I like to say I'm only 26 years old. And like when I'm talking about my age, I go down. I'm like 20. I'm like 21. I don't go up, but that's totally besides the point. The point is that a lot of people may know who Schomburg is, but a lot of people may not. So I want to tell you, Schomburg was an Afro Latina. His mother was from St. Croix, and so black, the Virgin Islands. And, he grew up not there, but he went there to be immersed in the culture and the people, and he knew that they existed and, who they were and what they were all about. And he was in school, he was in class, and he asked the teacher, like, oh, okay, can you tell us a little bit about, Black history? And she was like, well, they don't have much of a history. And he was like, well, that's not true. And I know that that's not true because my mother is Black, and I've already been exposed to Blackness in a really beautiful way. So what you're saying is not true. So he devoted his life to finding the evidence of Black achievement and Black. So that takes everything. That's art, music, dance, literature, like you name it. And he created this museum called the Schomburg Research Center, and I went there. His message was basically, just because you take the Black out of it doesn't mean that it's not there. And he was noticing that pattern, how there were a lot of people that were mixed. I can't remember the painter's name at this moment, but I was reading his book because I read it a long time ago. And for some reason, I tried to look for the book and I cannot find it in my books. So it's probably downstairs. It's probably in my collection. I can't find the book, but the painter had an African dad and had a Latino mom. And he was only embraced as a Latino painter, but his father was the one who was a sculptor, and he was designing churches and things like that. So, but he was labeled as this. And I've noticed that pattern in even, you know, today's culture. I don't want to, make this too divisive in a way, because the whole goal is to show how we are really all together. So I went to school, and maybe I didn't pay attention, or maybe I missed it. Let's say that. But we have this date of 1619, and we highlight that date. But I didn't know until what, maybe a year ago, when I went to the Schomburg Research Center and started talking to the people that were also there, that Africans were being shipped to the Caribbean and South America, like Brazil, 180 to 100 years before the transatlantic slave trade even existed. You know what I mean? So what does that tell you? What does that tell you about Latino culture? What does that tell you about Caribbean culture? What does that tell you about Dominican culture? What does that tell you about Puerto Rico? What does that tell you about reggaeton and salsa and merengue, and why we feel it, and why, certain things are the way that we are and we connect with it? It's because the origin is Africa. So just because you take Africa out of it does not mean that Africa is not an African culture, is not that seed, that foundation of what a lot of things are. And a lot of us don't realize that. And I remember reading that Schomburg's people were very upset about his work that he was doing, because if you're, Puerto Rican, and your Puerto Rican brother is over here like, no, the diaspora was a lot more than what y'all think it is. And our culture is a lot more than what y'all think it is. And they see how Black people are being treated. They don't want to be associated with that. So they're like, stop, they want to separate themselves. Like, stop doing that. And that's why we have a lot of the things that we have in those cultures as well. And a lot of people that are Latino and, Latina will admit to that and be like, no, I have experienced a lot of colorism and a lot of things, because they wanted to be separate. They wanted to be separate because they saw how Black people were being treated, and they did not appreciate Schomburg's work, and they did not appreciate the light that he was shining on the reality of what a lot of their culture was derived from. So I went to the MoMA the other day, and I went to go see the the ideas of Africa. And I'm not going to lie, that exhibit didn't really speak to me. And I really had to go back and think like, okay, well then what is art? Like, because this art, I think, provoked me a little bit. I think I embraced art as something that art is not supposed to be. Art is not supposed, and then I started looking into the philosophy of art, because what is art? What even is it? What is it supposed to do? What is the job of it? Right? And when I discovered the job of it, the job of art is not to meet my expectation. And I think that I needed to learn that, because when I went to the exhibit, it was extremely underwhelming. I went, and it was Spirits of Africa, right? So it was one man dressed up as a bunch of other people, like Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali and Angela Davis and things like that. And to me, when I looked at it, I'm like, why do I want to see you? Right? But that's art. Art is audacity. Art is expression. Art is those things. So it still doesn't resonate with me, right? It still doesn't resonate, but I had to learn. I had to learn that art is not here to teach me anything, or to pose as reality or be an expression of certain things, but it's to be what that artist feels. And just because the artist wanted to express itself in that way does not mean that it has to speak to me, and it didn't, it didn't. But when I was in the exhibit, one piece did speak to me, and I'm allowed to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm allowed to feel that way. I remember I was on a little date, and I think we were at the Guggenheim, and there was a lot of art that I did like. And there was an art piece that I walked up to, and I said, I hate this. Right? And he was like, I love that you said that you hate this. I'm like, I didn't mean to say that. Oh my God. I didn't mean to say it, but it just came out. I was like, I woke up, I said, I hate this. And he was like refreshed that I said that I hated it. But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of things that I did love. You know what I mean? So you also have that freedom. But there was a piece of art in that exhibit that I did love, this specific one, Ideas of Africa, that I loved. It was a woman and a man, and it was a beautiful giant portrait, and it was made up of so many other small images. And it was beautiful, and I loved it, and I loved that it was made up of other small images. But you know how the museums have the people that stand on the side to tell you you're getting too close to the artwork, right? So the lady who worked there, she came up to me and she was like, get closer, get closer. And I was like, okay. And when I got closer, I saw the other small images. And she was like, you know, it's beautiful. I love this. I love this. I said, what's going on over there? I don't connect with it. I don't understand. She was like, I don't know. You know? And she was like, go on the second floor to Wilfredo Lamb. You'll see the people go in there with smiling faces and then they leave grumpy and upset. And she said it's the funniest thing to see their reaction. And I thought this point of view of a museum was so funny, you know? So she's like, you know, because you're standing there, you're watching all these people. Oh, the arts, whatever. And she sees the honest reaction. So when I went up there, I'm like, okay. She was like, that's what you should really go see. I was like, okay. So I went up there. I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on here. As soon as I see his name, Wilfredo Lamb, I see Black diaspora. I was like, let me pull out my camera. I didn't see not one piece of art because I was like, oh yeah, okay, now we talking. Now I understand why she told me that this is the exhibit that I'm really here for. And this is another thing. Wilfredo Lamb actually knew, you know, and wanted to express exactly what Schomburg spent his whole life doing. You know, his Wilfredo Lamb mom was from Cuba and his father was a Chinese immigrant. So he was the mixture of both. And he just chose to embrace that Afro-Cuban side of him, you know, in his art with the jungle and blackness and African cosmology and things like that. And I really appreciated his art because it was an expression of that Black diaspora. And he wanted the world to know, like a lot of his paintings, you could tell are inspired by Picasso, because I believe that was his friend. He archived a lot of his work for him, not archived, but while he was fighting for, there was some war. I'm really not a historian. He rolled up his art and he stored it for him. Ow. And that's what that was. So just a little backstory of, you know, where most slaves went. Like we hear about the 1619 thing and, you know, Africa to the Americas, and we think that's where it all started. But Africans were being sent to these small pockets in much larger numbers 100 years before our history in school lets us even know. And that has influenced a lot of what we are connected to, but what we feel outside of. And that's why I'm excited for Bad Bunny and those beats, because I know that my body feels those beats and my body loves those beats. And I'm going to dance tonight. I'm so shy to dance because the thing is, I don't twerk. I don't like, you know, I don't dance, but I do love bachata and salsa and merengue. And I like that. Like I'll do that in the mirror in my hotel by myself. You know what I mean? I'll do that. And I also like to watch people dance too. I remember I was at a restaurant and this woman, she was dancing all night and I was like, oh, I love it. And she was doing salsa. So you are not outside of this. And I think it's a very important aspect of Black culture. And so I just wanted to share that. Dance It belongs here. Bad Bunny belongs at the American Super Bowl, 100%. Even if he speaks seven, if he speaks 7 words in English, it doesn't matter. If that was him, I wouldn't prioritize it. You know what I mean? He's proud to be Puerto Rican, as he should be, but you are not outside of it. And I'm excited to dance and see America dance because this is us. So I just wanted to share that, and I hope that you guys have a good time.